Welcome to the Squared Circle Gridiron. I am Don Wayne. Ron is not with us today, but we do have Philly Fitter with us. How you doing,
What's up,
Ricky?
Doc? Great. How are you? I'm getting over that bad cold that I had last week. That bad
Yeah.
chest cold.
Like, glad you're feeling better, buddy. I know you were down and out for a while. I hope
Thank
everybody
you.
had a very, very Christmas.
Yeah,
Um,
same here.
Great time with my family, even though my beloved Broncos are choking right now. So I don't know what else to say about them. There's been a lot of news coming up today. Going to impact a lot of teams. I'm kind of shocked. I don't want to get into a little bit of that before we get to the meat of the matter. Thanks everybody for joining us. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Larry, you know you had a good Christmas. Don't hurt yourself. Really weird news today coming out of Houston. Kareem Jackson was waived by Denver with the intent to put him on their practice squad. And lo and behold, the Houston Texans went and claimed Kareem Jackson, who has less than a stellar reputation into this season, being suspended twice now for what the NFL deemed illegal hits. This is kind of a big deal because the Texans placed Jimmy Ward on the IR this week. He got hurt. Talk about Houston having something fall right in their lap. They get a veteran player who can start right away and really fill in, where he's going to leave off. What did you think about that for the scrappy Texans, man, who really need a playmaker right now?
Yeah, I think for a team like that, it fits what they're trying to do. They're trying to make some noise. They're trying to be bold, pick up a guy. Yeah, he's got some background to him. He's been suspended, but you know what? Texans are looking for that identity, and maybe he can help them with that a little bit. Give them some pop, give them some boldness.
He's what they need right now. He's got the NFL mentality. Sega Genesis, we are going to get into the MVP talk here shortly, but
Yes,
there's a couple of ins and outs I want to talk about. There was one big setback. TJ Hawkinson, who was having a stellar year.
Yeah,
He's out for the season, suffered an Achilles. Sorry, that was Aaron Johnson. But they're saying he might have torn his MCL and his ACL now, from what I'm seeing.
I saw that story. I was reading it earlier. After you mentioned it, I typed it in. Yeah, he's done. I mean, that's going to really hurt them. I mean, he was their guy. Yeah, he took a lot of pressure off of Jefferson now that he's back, and I don't know if he's at 100%. So if the Vikings, they're not mathematically out of it yet, are they?
No, they're not yet, but they can't lose again. They cannot lose again. That's sort of where we're at now. Is it's crunch time, and I was going to look at the standings here in a little bit, but I'll go ahead and tell you now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they are in the middle of the hunt right now. The Rams are ahead of them. They're 7. The Seahawks are ahead of them. They're a game behind the Rams and the Seahawks. So they can still get back into this thing, but don't know yet. But Hawkinson, here's my thing with Hawkinson, right? This is why this sucks so bad. Look at how late we are in the season right now, right? Like, that's the first thing I thought of is we are so late in the season. If this is an ACL and MCL, when's he going to be able to play next year?
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, typical an ACL, you're looking at a year minimum for most players. I know there's freak athletes out there that can come along. That sucks for the Vikings, man. I mean, that's a good player.
It does.
And you're looking at, I would bet now, I mean, the earliest you could hope to get him back would be what? Late October, early November? 8 games, 9 games into the season?
Yeah. I mean, look, I mean, everyone's not Kobe Bryant and Aaron Rodgers, right? You know what I mean? Guys
and Adrian Peterson. Yeah.
Yeah, or Adrian Peterson. Yeah, it kind of stings for the Vikings. I mean, they really had a tough year, losing Cousins, who was really having a great year until he got hurt.
Kirk Cousins type year. Yep.
And they lost Jefferson. They were banged up at the running back position after it's been a really tough year for the Vikings, but they're still hanging on. So I guess you got to give them credit for hanging in there.
And I read something else too about your beloved Eagles, that essentially your defensive coordinator was fired, and they tried to sort of sweep this under the rug. Did I read that right today? Like they were quietly trying to get around beating that bush up. He was fired. Am I wrong in that? And then what I read today, he was essentially fired. His services will probably not be rendered next year, is what I read.
Well, look, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand that they could spin it however they want. If you're if you're a defensive coordinator one week and then the next week you get replaced by somebody else, that means that you're let go, that you're fired. So I think they were I think they were trying not to create a lot of hype around it because they didn't want to lose focus on what else is going on. But yes, you could essentially say that he was fired.
Larry says he needs that fired energy in New Orleans right now. They are that is a ship. That is a rudderless ship right now. We've had 3 firings so far this year, which I want to get into as well, right? We had the Raiders fire their coach, the Chargers fire their coach, and the Panthers fired their coach, right? And I want to get into this a little bit. I obviously believe the Commanders are very much going to fire their coach at the end of the year. I think Ron Rivera is out.
100%. If they don't fire him, I will absolutely be blown away.
I mean, you'll be stunned like the rest of us, I believe.
Totally.
The Cardinals are in a rebuild. This is their coach's first season. Do you think the Bears fire their coach?
Yes. I'll tell you why. Here's why I think they do. I think they bring somebody in because they're going to keep Fields. They want a new coach for him to see if they could coach him up. I don't think they're going to give up on Fields yet, but I don't think it's going to work with this coach.
I think that's where you're wrong.
All right.
Hey. So we can get into this now. I think Fields is gone. I think the coach is gone, and I think they start all over with a brand new coach and a brand new quarterback. That's what I think.
Okay.
I don't think Fields is going to be welcome back. Did you see the interview that he had this week, by the way, before the game, where he was essentially saying goodbye to the city of Chicago? I think he also doesn't believe he's going to be brought back. And also, if you saw, he clearly doesn't think he's going to be back in the way that speech went down. If you're sitting on the number 1 pick, dude, Fields has not done enough, man. He just hasn't.
But you know what? We talk about this all the time, and I keep going back to the same thing. Listen, I don't know what he is or what he's not going to be, but first of all, I'll just say it like this. If I'm a Chicago Bears fan, I'm fucking pissed off because this carousel keeps happening.
It's bad front office management. And it has been historically for generations.
Yeah. But so, you know what? Let's say that the Bears, let's say that they have the number 1 pick and they draft Daniels, right? Hypothetically. How much better can he be with an off? If the Bears have the number 1 pick, Daniels from LSU.
No, Daniels isn't going number 1. No, are you high? Are you still recovering?
Who do you think it's going to be? Williams?
Yeah, it's Williams. Williams goes number 1. This is done. This is done. Done.
Listen. All right. Well, I'll put it to you this way.
Mark it in stone, put it in a tablet, call it the 11th commandment. No, he's going number 1.
I'll tell you what. Don't be so sure of that, my friend. Don't be so sure of that. As I steal a line from Lee Corso.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, I'll put it to you this way. If the Bears had the number 1 pick and it's Williams or Daniels or whoever, I don't think they should draft a quarterback.
I'm off of it. I'm moving on from the kid. I'm sorry. Okay. He's had many years, many coordinators, and many coaches now, and none of it's working out.
You just made the argument. Exactly right. He's had many coaches and many coordinators.
And he can't work with any of them. Look at Drew Lock. He went through the same thing. He just didn't have it. And he still doesn't have it. He had one good drive, and what did the coach do the next week? He put his guy back in there because he said, that's Drew freaking Lock, and I know what I got in him. The one that I did see today, though, is the Falcons are going to bring back their coach. The Falcons looks like they're going to bring him back. The poverty franchise that they have often been called is going to bring back their head coach that cannot, for the I'm back, sorry. The coach that cannot figure out how to manage all of this talent that he has on this team. He cannot do it. He's got all this talent and can't get him the ball. Robinson finally had another decent game. They had a decent game plan. I can't figure this team out. They really are a poverty franchise, like Larry has said. It is a black hole to suck everything dry in. Matt Ryan was the only thing they ever had that was half decent, and they wrung that guy dry. So I'm out on that. Do the Tennessee Titans move on?
From who? From Tannehill?
No, from there. Well, Tannehill's gone. That's not even.
Yeah.
That's not even. Yes.
Are you asking if they move on from their head coach?
Yes.
Yes.
Does Mike Vrabel get released at the end of the year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I
And
don't. I don't.
I'll tell you why I think. I'll make it quick. That they don't have a quarterback. They're a running
Wait a
back.
minute, do they or do they not? Because that sort of thing is, if you're Tennessee, you've got to get Will Levis a chance next year. He's proven enough this year that he can play football. To me, he's proven he should get a second shot.
All right, I'm not going to argue with that. I'm not going to
Sam
argue with
Howell,
that.
however, Sam Howell and under the Commanders, that they got to bring some competition for that guy. He has fallen apart on the second half of the season.
It's so
fallen
funny
into the shitter.
Well, listen, it's so funny that you just said that because we were talking about this over Christmas. I was with my brother-in-law, who's a huge Redskins fan, and he asked the exact same thing: should Washington bring Howell back? And here's my answer that I gave him, and here's my answer that I'll talk about here on the podcast. Has he done enough himself? Probably not. He's had a terrible second half. However, again, Washington shouldn't draft a quarterback. They should draft line. They need to draft their line. Their offensive line sucks. So how good can Hal be? I don't know, right? I don't know because their offensive line is brutal. So if I'm Washington, I don't build with another quarterback because they just go through them year after year. Give this kid a chance, but build around him.
Look, I'm going to say this, okay? I was more than willing to give Howell a chance this year with how he played. He was god-awful Sunday. That was the worst performance I've seen. It was brutal. Did you see he was like 6 or 22, I think, in the game?
It was terrible. It was terrible.
He sucked up. He sucked. Just god-awful. You can't have that on your team. So
no.
I'm convinced.
I'll tell you what, though. He has something. There is something about him that I like. Toughness. I don't know what it is. There's something about him I like. Like he can play in the NFL, right? Now, on the other hand, and I'm just going to kind of do a little segue real quick. That stupid quarterback, Tommy Cutlets from the Giants.
This guy.
Right? Listen, he sucks. He shouldn't even be in the NFL. Where a guy like Sam Hale, he can play. I just think he needs some more around him. They don't have and coaching too. I think coaching in Washington's terrible.
Well, here's the thing, and more 65 asked this. Do the Chiefs miss Eric Bieniemy, right? And I want to get into this a little bit because clearly, and I know everybody is screaming from the highest mountain they can. Why doesn't Eric Bieniemy get a chance to be a head coach? Right now, the Commanders are on fire, sailing down the river of trash, and they still won't give this guy a shot, which tells me all I need to know about Eric Bieniemy's chances of being head coach. There is something that we aren't privy to and how he interacts with players and other people behind the scenes that doesn't make him necessarily a great candidate to be a head coach. I don't know that the Kansas City Chiefs are missing Bieniemy because of their offense. What the Chiefs are missing right now is talent. They are talentless on that roster. Kelsey has clearly lost a step in the second half of this season. I don't know if it's because he's injured. I don't know if it's the Taylor Swift love affair. I have no idea. What I can tell you is he doesn't look the same. The Kansas City Chiefs have swung and missed on all their offensive weapons that they've drafted. Rice is a nice player. He's probably a nice number 2. He's not a number 1. The kid they drafted last year is a non-entity. I forgot the kid's name already because he's never on the field. Yeah. I don't like what I'm seeing with what's going on in Kansas City. No. And I know Howell lit up the Eagles twice. At this point in time, everybody's lit the Eagles' ass up.
That's like saying, that's like saying
the Browns ran on Denver. Everybody runs on Denver.
Yeah. Wait, who just put that comment up? Who was that, Larry?
No, that was more 6565.
Oh, all right.
So here it is. You were getting into the big board discussion on, quarterbacks, right?
Yeah.
And here it is. Yeah. First picture I come up to has Caleb Williams in a Bears uniform. First one I see. Here's their ranking. Caleb Williams, number one overall pick. Drake May, number 2, number 3 talent roster pick. Jaden Daniels going number 11, 10th overall value pick.
To who?
After that, it's Bo Nix in the second round, Michael Penix in the 3rd or 4th, Sanders, who's no longer coming out, the Michigan kid in the 4th, 3rd or 4th. Ewers is coming back now, and that's it. Like, that's what you're looking at.
Right.
That's what you're looking at.
I can't argue with that. Like I said, I go with my eye test, and I think that I think Daniels, when it's all said and done, will end up with a better
It's going to
career.
look great in a Broncos uniform.
Hey, that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, right?
Did you see that today, by the way? Did you not see this? So
No.
the news hit yesterday after that god-awful loss, and once again, Russell Wilson not looking like he knows what to do with a football. And I'm tired of everybody telling me, well, look at his stats. Look at his stats. Watch him play football. He's not reading the defense. It's a complete panic every time. It's not clean. He moves in the pocket when he doesn't need to. I'm totally over everything that he's doing right now. They were talking about possibly releasing him at the end of the season to save $37 million on the 2025 cap and just eating the $34 million this year and taking a quarterback in the first round. That's the rumor out of Denver. And wait a minute, hold on. Wilson then come out and said, I'd be open to renegotiating my contract.
Well, I think he sees the writing on the wall. And I think if you're Denver, you have to do that. You're tied to this guy, and he's pulling the boat down. I mean, the money is crazy. So I think if you're Denver, you got some pieces there. It's not like they're a bottom feeder. Denver has some pieces. They just don't have the quarterback. And I think you got to go out and get a quarterback.
Larry, I think you're going to see some changes in Denver. I also think Denver's going to get a new GM. I think that ship has sailed on him. He's the one that signed Wilson this long-term deal. He's the one that traded for him.
And I'll tell you what's so effed up too. All the draft capital they gave up to get him.
I know. I did. I know. As a fan, believe me, it's driving me nuts.
Off the top of my head, I don't know all the draft picks, but I know they gave up. It was like Ricky Williams.
They gave up a draft. They gave up the boat. Yeah.
Yep.
And the Lions, I mean, they clinched the division for the first time. I know you're happy about this, so tell me why. I'm happy for the Lions fan base because they are loyal to it. They're loyal to a fault.
Honestly, I was going to keep it as simple as that. I'm not going to get into some big thing. I'm happy for the Lions fan base. And I'll tell you what, I think Dan Campbell deserves. I mean, he deserves a lot of votes for Coach of the Year.
Here we go. I want to get into this in a minute. Go ahead. So who is your coach? Is it going to be Dan Campbell?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think so. I think he's definitely there. And look, I've said it all year, and I'll say it. I'm not a fan of Jared Goff, but the guy's had a nice year. And I think the Lions are a great story. I really do. I think Campbell's done a fantastic job.
They are.
So
if you're going to ask for my coach of the year, it's going to be Stefanski for the Browns. I'm going Stefanski for the Browns.
That's hard to argue. That's really hard to argue. I mean, they've had a quarterback carousel.
Let me give you the reasons, right? You've now got a number 2 and a number 3 running back as your leading team offense right now. You are down to your 4th string quarterback at this point in time, essentially. And you have resurrected the ghost of Joe Flacco, who just gave Amari Cooper the biggest day of his entire professional career, dropping bombs down the field like bombs over Baghdad in the early 2000s. It was absolutely hilarious to watch this. They are absolutely, and they got 10 wins. If you had the Browns getting to 10 wins when they lost everything they had, I tip my hat to you because I can't see it. And I wouldn't see it. I didn't see this happening. The Browns are on fire right now. The Browns are on fire.
And they play good on the other side of the ball. They have a really solid defense.
Right. So I want to get into now what we advertise the show to be, and that's the MVP candidate race, right?
Yeah.
I want to get into that.
All right.
You went out there and said, nope, I got something different, right? And I'm going to make the case, but you go ahead and you tell me who and why is your front runner right now.
I'm a big fan of Lamar Jackson. I am. I think he's done a really nice job this year. Obviously, Baltimore, one of the top teams. But my front runner right now, and I can't believe that I'm saying this because all of my brethren across the tri-state area is probably going to kill me. But my front runner for MVP is the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh my God, are you shitting me right now, Ricky?
I am
Come
not.
on, dude. You
I am
gotta be
not.
kidding me right now,
I am
man.
not. I stand on the hill. Donnie, I stand on the hill, brother.
There's nah.
Listen,
What
wait,
the hell?
wait. Look at his numbers. Wait, look at his numbers.
No.
I'm not look at his numbers
Oh my
compared to
God.
everybody's.
Oh
30
my
touchdowns.
God.
Listen, he's only one of two quarterbacks in the top 10 who have under 10 interceptions. 30 touchdowns, 7
And
interceptions.
he has yet to win a big game.
But wait, hold on.
No.
This year,
No.
Dallas is there. He's having a good year. He's having a great year.
He is having a very good year. I think he's having a very good year. Larry thinks you're having too many asthmatics.
No, listen, I'll tell you what he hasn't done.
Excuse me.
And listen, this is coming from, believe me,
Jesus.
I'll tell you what he hasn't done. He hasn't had a shit game where he throws 4 interceptions.
Okay, so he's playing good. That doesn't mean there's no way. He's not even on the board in the top 4 right now. He's not even on the board.
Yes, he is.
He's not. No, he's not.
He's on my board.
He's not.
He's on my board. Yes.
No. Hell no. They're not even in first place.
They're
not even
right
first
there.
place.
Listen, I hate Dallas. I hate him. But
hell,
he's having he's having an MVP year, I think.
That's like me arguing that Matthew Stafford should be the MVP. Because his team's playing pretty good. They're in the playoff race. There's no way. There's no way. There's no way.
Listen,
no.
His numbers are, his quarterback rating is 104.
You're making me uncomfortable getting into this.
Look, I'm trying to get us ratings here, brother. All right.
I got nothing. Look, I had Dak. Okay, and this is where this all came about.
I knew I was going to come heavy tonight, but hey,
I had this on my board 2 weeks ago. I did a poll on Twitter after the games. I said, "Who is your MVP front runner right now?"
Right.
I said, "I'm going to have Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott, and I'm going to have Tyreek Hill." Right. Lamar Jackson was in dead last place with just over 20%. No one saw him coming. No one voted on the poll. I'm sure knows exactly what he means in his team. Dak has clearly fallen completely out of the race now. He's gone. If you look at the top 4 polls right now, Vegas betting, it's Lamar, McCaffrey, Tua, and Brock. Those are your top 4. And by the way, only one of those guys now is a negative bet, and that's Lamar. So you'd lose money if you're not going over the top to get it, right, is what I'm saying. He is the hands-on, heavy-handed favorite right now at negative 185. Christian McCaffrey is at plus 425.
And listen, he's definitely up there, Christian McCaffrey. But here's the thing: Lamar is number 15th in passing, and his numbers aren't as good as Dak's. What's that say?
That's great. That's great. Oh, you want to go back and see it? Hold on. Ricky Dak is the definition of a front runner. He destroys bad teams and loses to the good ones.
Listen, I'm all right. Hey, listen, I'll take the heat. I will take the heat. It's fine. But, I'm just being honest. I'm just being real. I'm just being real.
Here's what I'm going to say about Mr. Lamar Jackson right now and why I believe he is having one of the greatest seasons I've ever seen of a quarterback. How many receivers on his team have 700 yards or more?
Zero.
How many running backs on his team have 700 yards or more?
What, rushing?
Yeah.
I'm probably going to say just him, right?
He's it. He's the only guy with 700 yards rushing on the team. Yeah. So if you look at their stats, he is literally Mr. Everything. He is the entire reason this offense scores. He gets them down to the goal line, and he hands it off where he has to so he doesn't take any more punishment. His running backs have touchdowns because he's getting them to the 1-yard line consistently. And he's doing all of this without a consistent, wide-open receiving threat. His best receiving threat since I have seen him in the NFL has been a slow, menacing tight end who runs you over. He doesn't wow you with moves like Kittle. He doesn't run insane routes. He's just a big lumberjack of a tight end that smashes you in the face a la Gronk style. They drafted Rashard Bateman out of Minnesota a couple of years ago. I'm going to say this again for those in the back of the audience. The damn Ravens drafted a Golden Gopher to be their number one wide receiver. Tell me the last Golden Gopher that came to the NFL that made an impact outside of, I don't know, sucking. Because there's only one I can name. Eric Decker was the last Golden Gopher that came around that was worth a damn.
You pulled that out of holy smoke.
I had to look this up here. So I was like, have they ever even had a good one? He's as close as it gets. He had a nice year. He had a nice career. All of that gone to shit. You cannot look at the Golden Gophers and go, that's where you go to get a wide receiver in college. It hasn't worked out. Brandon Flowers is the rookie on the team. He's shown flashes that he might develop into a number 2 wide receiver. He is not going to be the number 1 they had envisioned, right? Go back to who they traded to, Hollywood Brown, traded to the Cardinals. Because, again, he wasn't a true number 1 wide receiver. They screw up the wide receiver pick more than any team I've seen outside of Bill Belichick and his New England Patriots. And still, somehow, Lamar Jackson continues to win football games, put them in positions to win late, and by the way, blow your ass out. He has blown out Super Bowl contending teams this year multiple times. They haven't just struck through. They blasted the San Francisco 49ers in the face last night. Double punch, whammo, silly knockout. And Brock Purdy, for all the Brock Purdy for MVP, shut up. I don't want to hear it. He's got weapons people could only dream of on that team. Yes, he's a good quarterback. However, he's got Debo, he's got Ayuk, he's got Kittle, he's got McCaffrey. They got a stable of running backs if you want to get into it. Then you look at the defense and they're loaded as well. So I'm tired of hearing that Brock Purdy is an elite quarterback. He's a really good quarterback surrounded by talent. But here's my question to you, and I'm going to let you have a moment here. Late in the game, or something happens early and the San Francisco 49ers go down big, do you think they have a shot to come back and win the game? Because I haven't seen it yet. They jump on you early, and if they can stay on top of you, they win. I have yet to see Brock Purdy lead them back from a sure defeat like I have Lamar Jackson routinely throughout his career.
Well, you're asking me, so I'm going to answer that question with 2 parts. One, my confidence in Purdy isn't 100%. I think he's a product of a great team. Like you said, they have weapons everywhere. They have a tight end, all pro tight end. They have 2 great wide receivers. They have probably arguably the best running back in the league, a very good offensive line. So yes, Purdy, I think, does get a lot of help. So I don't know if I have confidence that he can march from downfield. However, San Fran on its own, just with all that talent, I think they're probably arguably right there with Miami and maybe even Philly offensively. They might even be better. I think offensively, San Francisco has all the parts.
This team, I'm just looking at their schedule now. This team beat Cincinnati when they were struggling early this year, but they were fully healthy then. They blew out Cleveland the first time they played them.
Wait, who are you talking about? Baltimore,
yeah.
Baltimore, yeah.
They blew out Detroit, and I mean blew them out bad. Who else did they blow out? They blew out Jacksonville. I mean,
listen, I followed Jackson all year. He was my fantasy quarterback. I followed him. He's having a great year. I'm not taking anything away from him. He's a very good quarterback.
He's having an MVP year. He's having an MVP year. That's what I see in him. I cannot see it any other way. Big Lou wants Uncle Rico for MVP. Not happening. I cannot see it any other way.
Who's that? Who's Uncle Rico? What is it?
You got to watch Napoleon Dynamite if you've never seen it.
I got you. I got you.
Lamar Jackson his stats aren't going to wow you, but he leads the team in rushing again, man. And if you saw the game last night, most of that shit was drawn up in a sandbox. He was having to scramble, escape, find a guy.
He's a heck of a quarterback. He's a heck of an athlete. I mean, he really is. I don't know. I don't know if he could sustain this, though. You know what I mean? Because he does take a pounding.
Look, I'm not saying that it's going to be long term. I'm just saying this year, this season, from what I've seen, that guy's my MVP. That's the guy that I'm going to ride with on Sundays right now.
Fair enough.
He's my MVP front runner. I put it on the boards, and even today when I put it out there, the haters hate. Nope, it's still Brock Purdy, dude. If you're going to tell me that Brock Purdy, after getting his ass handed to him and throwing 4 picks to the other guy that's got his team in first place in the entire conference, is still your front runner, you're either a homer or you don't watch football and you don't understand the game. Those are the only 2 options. That's like me saying Russell Wilson should be an MVP candidate this year. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous statement, just utterly ridiculous.
Hey, I just wanted to add just something real quick. I don't know if we're going to touch on it. Maybe we will, but I just want to touch on it real quick. Kudos to Antonio Pierce and the.
I was going to get into this. Okay, go ahead.
All right, go ahead.
Go ahead. Give him props.
Oh no, I was just going to say
after Raiders.
Listen, they're playing with attitude, and they came in and they punched Kansas City in the mouth. That they got attitude about them. That coach is coaching. Look, I don't watch all the Oakland games, but I'll tell you what, man, they were in there jabbing and punching, and they stood up. And you got Crosby wrecking havoc. I mean, that Oakland team, if they had a veteran quarterback, someone that's been in the league for a little bit, who you could count on, man, I'll tell you what, I would be scared of that team.
They cannot throw the football. And their defense hit a lot of the ugliness that was this game.
Yeah.
O'Connell was 9-21. He was awful.
Wait, he didn't
awful.
I think it was the first time, maybe I'm wrong, maybe you can answer this. I think it was the first time in NFL history that a team won where he didn't have a reception after the first quarter. Oakland didn't have a completion, he didn't have a completion after the first quarter. And they still won.
Yeah. Larry just commented on that, and I was trying to put him up on the board. Instead, it got banned, and I don't know why, and I can't bring him back.
I couldn't say
Larry,
it.
I have to fix that later.
Yeah. He didn't have a completion after the first quarter, and they won. I've never seen that before. I don't even know if that's ever happened before.
So, yeah, I was stunned at this game. I don't know what the hell is going on. Larry, my God. I got to get Larry back in here somewhere. This shit went awry. God bless it. Stupid computer. Anyway, that was what I want to take out of that. But here's what I want to talk about specifically about this, right? Do you keep Pierce as a head coach if you're the Niners?
Oh, wait, if you're the Raiders.
I'm sorry, if you're the Raiders, yes. I was reading a comment about the 49ers.
If not, why? Has he lost? I mean, has he lost the job? I think he's done a phenomenal job. No? Are you buying it?
I am always hesitant to give an interim head coach the job. Myself personally. I'm always hesitant to do that.
On what grounds?
Because you limit yourself to candidates that you could have possibly interviewed. Right? Like you're limiting your actual interview base to one guy if you're going to go in this direction when there's several candidates that actually might be better for the job. I understand that they're playing hard for them, and I'm not saying that they're not. But when you limit yourself options like that, I'm not a fan of that.
I can see what you're saying. I'm not going to argue with that. I think he should get a shot, though. I think he's done a nice job with them. He's given them an attitude, and I think the players like playing for him.
I can't disagree that, but I greatly disagree that he should be given the job automatically just because they've won a couple of games. Let's face it, they've also looked bad in some of those games, right?
Oh, yeah.
They have not looked good at times. So, that's sort of where my thought process was. I'm not overly happy, with the idea of doing that. And this is what I keep seeing over and over again is, they should keep Pierce. They should keep Pierce. I'm not a big fan of that right now. I'm just not. In my opinion, I'm not. So that's just me. We'll see where it goes. The other part I want to talk about is there's a lot of Jim Harbaugh talk coming to the NFL. That's picking back up steam again. It's getting to the point where I think he's about had it with college and the shit that they put on him. And I want to talk about this real quick before, we're not going to have a particularly long show tonight. But I want to talk about this. I keep hearing Chicago over and over again.
Hmm.
Why would he go to Chicago where they're going to have to rebuild again? When he's got the Los Angeles Chargers sitting there looking at him, right? Like, why would he not do that?
Yeah, I think if you're I mean, if you're someone like him who's a proven coach in college, you get to pick the best kids into the land. You know, even though college has really changed, obviously with the portals and all that stuff, but he's still getting the best kids into the land. His teams are always right there at the end. What benefit does he have coming to the NFL?
Money. They're going to pay him more money, and that's
Okay,
the one.
so
That's the one bridge he never got to complete, was getting that Super Bowl, and he was right there.
yeah,
Look, like it or not, you can be the greatest college football coach you ever want to be. You can be Nick Saban. Yes, Nick Saban is probably the greatest college coach ever, but he
yeah.
couldn't make it in the NFL, and that will always be a caveat that will be said. Great college coach, couldn't quite make it in the NFL. Like it or not, that's a big thing to have marked out, is to win in both and win consistently in both. I mean, to me, that's the one cross his brother's in the NFL kicking ass, right? Like that, as a sibling rivalry, that's got to eat at you, man. You've got to want to get back in the NFL at some point in time. You really do.
You know what? I'm not saying he doesn't in his head. I think it's hard because you got to land in the right situation. His brother's been in Baltimore, over 10 years. He's got some longevity there. He's had good players. He has a good franchise. It's like not every situation that you go in is like a Baltimore or a Philadelphia or a San Francisco or whatever. So those opportunities and those primo jobs, even though you're coaching in the NFL, I'm just going to say, for example, let's say that the Chicago Bears job opens up or the Arizona job opens up. Oh, okay. Well, you're coaching, at least you're in the NFL, but you're not in a great situation. So I think coaches like that look at those situations and say, all right, what opportunities are there? Do I want to come in and coach Arizona?
Chargers have a great opportunity, man. I mean, you've got a franchise quarterback. The offensive line is great. You've got some weapons. There's going to have to be some cap structuring, obviously. It's a question of, do you want to bring Keenan Allen and Williams back, or just one of the two and restructure their contract? Because you're not paying both of them $28 million next year. That's just not going to happen.
So, and they're going to have to pay their quarterback soon.
I think he's already gotten paid, but I have to look into that.
Oh, did he? All right. Well, maybe he did.
I'd have to look into it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think, look, I'm not going to argue. Every top coach, obviously, you want to get to that next level, right? You want to say I was in the NFL, of course, right? But whether you're Nick Saban or even go back prior to him, even if you're Joe Paterno, right? Why didn't he ever come to the NFL?
No,
and I just think that
Joe Paul.
No. I'm using him as an example, but like, I think that if you're a good football coach, even though the landscape of college has really changed, you can make a lot of money. I mean, you can make $5, $6, $7, $8, $10 million a year if you're in the right situation. You go to the NFL, yes, you might make that, but it's harder. I think it's harder to win. It's harder to get the players to do what you want because they're all making $20, $25 million a year. So even though it sounds like it's the dream of everybody, I would have to take a look and say, okay, what's the situation? Especially if I'm Harbaugh or Jim Harbaugh coming from Michigan. What situation am I going into?
I think he's coming. I really do.
Okay.
And I think it's going to be that position. I was looking ahead, looking for some more stories. That's about all I got today. Really wanted to cover the MVP talk. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
The last thing I'll ask you, do you think Bill Belichick comes back? Because I've seen conflicting reports that he's coming back, that I've seen that he's not coming back. And I guess my question is, if he's not coming back, does anybody want him?
Well, so my answer today has changed from what it was a couple of weeks ago. where I said he was coming back, right? Now I don't think so. I think
I keep reading that they made up their minds a couple of weeks ago that he's not coming, that they're not
yeah,
going to bring him back.
I don't think so. I think he's going to they'll probably spin it some way, somehow. I just think they're going to sort of start over. I think they're going to start over with their quarterback. Whatever coach they end up bringing in, he's going to want his own quarterback. Maybe Bill Belichick runs off into the sunset, rides off into the sunset.
I mean, 70 years old, man. What are you trying to prove anymore? Like, get a good hobby.
Exactly. Look, he doesn't have anything to prove, right? He's so, I think it's going to be up to him. I do. I think Kraft, because he's going to honor Belichick just because he's classy. But do I think he's coming back?
San Francisco.
Hey, what? Yeah, I don't think he's
Burgundy.
coming back. No, yeah, I don't think he's coming back. Nope.
Okay. So I'm looking forward to some good matchups next weekend.
Yeah.
We got Miami and Baltimore. That's going to be the showdown of showdowns. I'm calling it now. If Jackson wins that game, he's your MVP. And Miami's at Baltimore. So
yeah, okay.
I'm going for that. So I'm looking forward to this. I can't wait. I'm excited about the games this weekend. You've got a lot of possible elimination games coming up too, right? I mean, really possible eliminations. You can be out of the playoffs if you lose this.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I mean, as an Eagles fan, but I'm looking at the Lions-Cowboys game. That's a huge game right there because
that's another one.
Lions are playing for the conference and the Cowboys are battling for it as well. So that's a huge game. If the Lions win, now it's going to hurt the Eagles to win the conference, but I think that's going to be a really good game. Like you said, I mean, these next couple weeks in the NFL are going to be great, and this is what it's all about.
The Tampa Bay New Orleans game. I know Larry can't comment. I'm sorry, buddy. I'll have to check into that, but that's going to be another one. It could eliminate the Saints from any kind of contention for the playoffs. The Pittsburgh versus Seattle game, that's another elimination game. Cincinnati is fighting for their playoff lives still again, and Kansas City's struggling. So that's another one I'm going to be watching. I mean, I'm looking forward to a lot of this, man.
How the hell? And I wish Brother Ron was here. How the hell are the Rams 8-7, clawing and scratching? How are they 8-7? And I mean, I think if they went out and a couple of things happen, that they're going to end up making. I think if it ended tomorrow, the Rams are in.
They'd be in. They're in.
Yeah. So,
and who are they playing this weekend?
They play the Giants.
Walk off. I mean, they win that. I think they might be guaranteed in. To be honest, I think they might be.
Wow.
But that's all I really had today. I was really looking forward to talking about the playoff situation. You got anything else you want to get into?
No, I think we covered it. Everything good. I think you'll come around to my way of thinking next week for the MVP.
In hell, there's not. You're hot. You're hot. Everybody have a great night.
We'll pick this up next week. See everyone.
Remember, like, subscribe. Appreciate the viewership. See y'all in the new year.